Welcome back to the Lars Larsen Show. It's a pleasure to be with you every First Amendment Friday night. We do celebrate it 52 weeks out of the year, and your calls are welcome at 866-HEY-LARS. Also, email talk@LarsLarsen.com. Vote in our Twitter poll at Lars Larsen Show on Twitter, and if you can't stand Twitter, go to my website. You can vote there, too, at LarsLarsen.com. Joe Biden is constantly talking about his amazing climate change plan at the low, low price of only a few $1 trillion, unlike that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez plan that ropes in at about $90 trillion. But is it really worth the hype, or is it just riddled with mistakes? I thought we'd talk about that with Dr. Jay Lehr, who is Senior Policy Analyst for the International Climate Science Coalition and the former Science Director of the Heartland Institute. Dr. Lehr, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Lars. A pleasure to be with you.
So you've spotted some of the major mistakes in this plan. Do you care to share those with us and tell us why Joe Biden is touting this climate plan, but it's got big errors in it?
Well, it's beyond big errors, Lars. It's sheer insanity. And recently, Tom Harris and I collected all of the things that he has written in his platform and a huge amount of material on his website. All of which is sheer insanity. Basically, if he were able to put his plan into work, he will be sending our nation back to the middle of the 19th century. He wants to do away with all oil, coal, all natural gas, and fracking, and run the country on wind and solar. Now, anybody with common sense realizes that's impossible because you can't allow a huge national grid to go down when the wind isn't blowing or the sun isn't shining. All of wind and solar has to be backed up 100% by fossil fuel, or you can't have it. It's just an appendage to electrical systems. And these people do not understand that. I mean, they are really out of their minds. Now, I'm somewhat optimistic. I think Mr. Trump will probably win. But if he doesn't win, I think Mr. Biden's energy plan will be the end of the Democratic Party. It will be such a failure. It will bite every single American in their pocketbook. The cost of everything will go up. The cost of energy will triple very quickly. And there will be a backlash which will throw the Democrats out, and the Republicans will come up with somebody not easy to hate like Mr. Trump, and they'll take back the whole government, I think, in 4 years. I hope it doesn't get to that. I hope Trump wins and has 4 years to do more terrific things for our economy. But if I wanted Mr. Biden and his people to lose, I probably would have written the platform and his energy plan just as he did, because it's crazy.
Well, and let me ask you about some of the details. When I saw Joe Biden in the debate last night say, we're going to transition from oil to something else, my first objection to that is America's sitting on a gold mine of oil in North America, and we've got more known proven reserves than we've ever had, despite the predictions of that great scientist and nuclear engineer Jimmy Carter, who said we'd be out of oil by the 90s. Well, here we are in 2020 with proven reserves. But all of that energy wealth doesn't help us if we don't actually use it, number one. But number two, when Joe Biden says we're going to transition off oil into renewables like solar and wind, and I said, well, hold on, how are we going to power all these cars if you're going to force everybody to start buying an electric car and deny them the privilege of buying a gasoline or diesel-powered car? We're going to power all this with an electrical grid that's already getting shaky because we're shutting down these major sources of electricity like coal that still produces more than a quarter of all the electricity in America. And you're going to put all this new load on at the same time your production is going down. I'm not a scientist, but that one doesn't look like it adds up to me, Doc.
Well, Lars, I couldn't say it any better. Everything you said was precisely correct. It just shows how, frankly, how stupid they are. None of that can happen, but they will try it. And on the way, I mean, if he is elected, within 1 year, every American would feel the loss of all kinds of amenities in their life, which will become too expensive because you can't do them on wind and solar. You can only do them on oil. And your opening statement about our wealth, we are now the richest energy country in the world. I mean, you're so right. President Carter was way off base, as were many other scientists. We have more oil and gas reserves than China and Russia and Iran put together. The amount of our wealth is still unknown. And to throw it away in exchange for things that we know don't work. We know the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine. They're very expensive, and they're also not green. The kind of materials that we have to bring out of the ground to create our solar cells and our wind turbines are not friendly to the environment all over the world. They're not green. They're not good in any way. And the idea that there's something wrong with the climate and that we can change the climate, that we can overcome nature, is crazy. Carbon dioxide is greening the earth. Carbon dioxide is what makes plants grow. It's what we breathe. We need to turn this all around and make people understand we are so fortunate that fossil fuels are increasing our carbon dioxide.
Well, and by the way, Dr. Lehr, we always talk about the solar cells and the windmills, but they're all made, I mean, for the most part, they're for the majority part of what goes into those two things comes from China. And I would expect that going forward, it'll still come from China. And it kind of makes me inclined, since we've been hearing the last couple of weeks about all the money that Hunter Biden has made from deals with the Chinese and how Joe Biden keeps trying to defend the Chinese, saying, oh, the China virus is not really their problem, that it makes me wonder if he got in and actually got this thing to even, as you said, try it out and see how it works. Where are we going to be buying the windmill blades? We're going to be buying the turbines that turn the blade energy into electricity. Where are we going to be buying the solar cells? The answer is from Joe Biden's Chinese communist buddies. I don't know if you're into conspiracy theories, but that one sure.
It's not a conspiracy, Lars. It's just an absolute fact. They have the minerals, the things that we require in our wind turbines to make those turbines in our solar cells. They control that part of the economy, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the more money is going to be sent to China if Biden gets in, and of course he's thrilled with that because he has all kinds of assets within China.
Absolutely right. Dr. Jay Lehr is Senior Policy Analyst with the International Climate Science Coalition. Doc, thanks very much. I'll look forward to you coming back.